Still rounding up all my goods. And I think it's time to do some fly extermination. We've been gone all afternoon, guys, so the flies come out. You're gone. It's been a very, very crazy afternoon. We had Azure Standard come in. It's gonna start killing flies here, guys. That way I can clean it up before we start cooking. We had our Azure Standard order come in. And so I've had people picking up their orders from my house for a while. And so it's been a little nuts. But I will be doing an Azure Standard video on that haul for you guys. Tonight we're going to be making quesadillas. Philly cheesesteak quesadillas. And this is my sourdough dough to make the tortillas. If you would like the recipe on how to make this, I do have that video up here on the channel. I also have a video up on the channel about how to make sprouted tortillas from scratch. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you check that out. Sprouted tortillas are a little bit easier than sourdough tortillas because pretty much anybody can go to a grocery store and buy the sprouted wheat to make them. So it makes it more accessible than the sourdough. I've never made tortillas with a soaked dough before, but that is something that I do plan to look into. I'm gonna grab out my tortilla press here, you guys. So this is an 8-inch tortilla press. You guys sure could use a 10-inch as well. Just whichever size you would like. I just went ahead and bought this off of Amazon. They sell a lot of things, or you could buy it off of eBay used and save a little bit of money. I was going to have all of these tortillas made up ahead of time, but then life happened. Azure happened. New friendships happened. I got to meet a new friend today I'm very excited about. But anyway, and so here we are. I'm going to make them live instead, guys. So the first step is going to be making those tortillas. And I said this before on the other lives, but just in case this is your first introduction, I use a 1-gallon freezer bag, and I cut down the sides on both sides of the freezer bag to use in my press. I find that using this allows your tortillas to get much, much thinner than using, say, a parchment or a wax paper. And you can wash this and reuse it until it gets holes in it from you swishing. And so I just really like using a plastic bag, okay? So that's what I'm going to use. We're going to get them cooking here. Whoops. Hey, Jackie. You haven't missed anything. I was just talking about how I got to make the all of the tortillas from scratch yet. I didn't get around to doing that this afternoon because I got to meet a new friend today, and I had my Azure Haul today, and just a crazy day, so I didn't get around to it. And I didn't get the sourdough part started until late morning this morning, and so because of that, Frank, my sourdough starter, had to keep eating and making wonderful sourdough for me to make my tortillas out of. So, we're going to make the Philly cheesesteak quesadillas. I have went ahead and just slow cooked. This is the insert to my Instant Pot. I rarely ever pressure cook in that. I just went ahead and slow cooked a couple of steaks in a Instant Pot. If you have a crock pot, you could also use a crock pot and just slow cook the steaks in there. I like to slow cook steaks because I find that the meat is softer than if you were to just saute the meat, which you totally could do with this recipe. But my kids do not like the texture of steak, so if it's too chewy, they won't eat it. So I need nice soft meat, so that's why I went ahead and I slow cooked the meat ahead of time. So we're gonna get started on making some tortillas here first, you guys. I'm so glad you guys are here. We're back to our old stand. You guys can already see that. I'm having reception issues with my new stand, so I need to look into that, and I need to look into what I can do so my phone doesn't fall off of my stand. But just know I am working. I'm not ignoring those of you who like the landscape view. I'm not ignoring you. I just need a little bit more time to look into that. I'm killing flies. Don't get grossed out. It grosses me out that they're in here more than it does that they land on my stove. So we'll just clean them off. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and load my plastic bag into my press here. I'm going to preheat my skillet over medium heat over here. We're just going to make tortillas, you guys. You can use these tortillas, you can freeze them. They are great, just like the store-bought tortillas. And like I said, I do have that recipe up on the channel. I'm looking for my, I'm not sure where it ran off to, but usually I take a 1/3 of a cup measurement, a measuring cup that's a 1/3 of a cup. And I also had some people ask me why I have paint on only one of my fingers. That's not paint, guys. That is a blood-filled owie that's underneath my nail. I was moving firewood and the firewood rolled and crushed my hand. So there's no time to paint nails on this farm. So that's not nail polish, guys. It's an owie. So anyway, I take my dough and I just roll it into a ball that would fit in a 1/3 of a cup measurement. You could also use a measuring cup to pack it on in there. And then it just goes right on to the press. And like I said, I have my pan back here over medium heat preheating. And it is a well-seasoned pan, so I'm not going to add any fat to the bottom of this when I make my tortilla. Sometimes I do add healthy fat, like duck fat, goose fat, lard, tallow, any of those healthy fats to the bottom. When I make tortillas, you'll see me do that sometimes, and that's only because my cast iron is losing its seasoning on the bottom, and I don't want them to stick. But tonight it is well seasoned. It kind of has a gloss to it. Move you guys a little closer. You guys can see the gloss from there, see? All right, so like I said, this is an 8-inch press here that I'm gonna be making the tortillas on. And I'm just gonna, once this is hot, I'm gonna move the tortilla right into there. So. Okay. It's almost warm enough, you guys. I'm just going to keep on rolling balls here. This particular dough was made out of probably 75% soft, ground, soft white wheat, and then just a quarter, 25% hard red wheat. I tried to make it out of just soft white wheat, but I find, for me anyway, and if you know a tip about this, put it down in the comments below. But I just find that if I use 100% soft white wheat with my sourdough tortillas, the dough just ends up kind of, I don't know what the word is. It doesn't come together very well in my machine, and I don't know if it's my error or if that's really what happens. So for the steaks, if you're going to cook them in a pan now, you sure could use some fat there, Jackie. That's perfectly great. I went ahead and slow cooked my steaks because my kids do not like the texture of steak unless it's soft. So I actually slow cooked mine in my Instant Pot on the slow cook option, but you sure could use a crock pot as well. Or go ahead and saute your steaks in your pan there until they are done to your liking, and then chop them up and get them ready to go into the quesadillas. So I'm just going to peel this off. Super easy. Into the pan it goes. And it's not going to stay in the pan very long, you guys, just until the one side is cooked. So this pan maybe was a little bit too cold, but it'll warm up. And the next one will go a lot faster. We're talking probably 30 seconds per side on average for a tortilla. And then they'll be ready to fill. And we'll start that process as soon as I'm done pressing tortillas here. Like I said, these tortillas can be cooked just like this and then froze. That's perfect. They come out just great. And they can be used in a ton of recipes. If you are keto or if you are grain-free, you can still make this meal. I do have a video up on the channel on how to make keto tortillas. It'd be the same exact process, only with your keto tortilla. They are absolutely amazing. They bend without breaking. They are absolutely amazing and easy to make. So if you're interested in that, check out that video. It's up on the channel. Okay, I'm gonna bring you guys over here. We're old school with the stand, so be patient, okay? So the color of the tortilla has turned from this darker color to this lighter color. I don't know if you guys can see that. Try that. And we're looking for a lighter colored tortilla. So it's not raw dough there, okay? All right, so that's gonna cook on up. While that's cooking, we sure can be chopping our steak up. I'm so glad you guys are on tonight. That's great. All right. I'm just going to take my steak here, and we're just going to chop it into little chunks. And like I said, this is going to be really super, super soft steak because I slow cooked it. So we don't really eat steak that often. I mean, my husband enjoys a good steak on the barbecue, but because the kids don't really like the texture, we don't eat it a ton. And so when we buy a whole cow from our local farmer, we end up with a whole pile of steaks left. And so I end up making meals with them. You could also use ground beef if ground beef is more affordable in your area, or you don't. That's all you have in the freezer. You sure could use ground beef in this recipe. It's all great. Or you could cook up a whole roast as well. All right, so that's ready. I'm going to grab a plate here, you guys. And for those of you guys who are watching, if you did not catch my I'm going to call it a mini class on fats, cooking fats, which fats to cook with, what fats are healthy for you. That was part of the honey garlic pork chop live video. I have gone back and I have time-stamped that. So if you want to send that information to someone that you know, you can simply send them a link to that video and then just tell them that down in the description box there's a timestamp, and all they do is click on that little timestamp. And it'll take them right to the exact moment in the video where I start talking about fats. So if you missed that, or if you want to refer it to somebody, that's up and ready for your enjoyment. See, that wasn't very long. See how fast that was, guys? Not very long. Once the cast iron is nice and hot, it will not take very long to cook these tortillas. It's very, very quick. You sure could turn this into a casserole where you would layer the ingredients in a 13x9 pan and go ahead and freeze it as a freezer meal. This would be a really good freezer meal. I suppose you would call that like a Philly cheesesteak lasagna at that point. That would be really good. And you could also use the keto grain-free wraps for something like that. Tonight we're going to make quesadillas. And I did put down in the comments section of my video on how to make quesadillas that the recipe in the video does call for olive oil. That would be in the case where you're just doing this mild cooking over medium heat. You would not want to use olive oil in that recipe if you're going to be baking at 350 degrees. Olive oil is not stable at that high of temperature, so we don't want rancid oil. And so instead, you would take that amount of olive oil, switch it out with a healthy cooking fat like lard, tallow, goose fat, duck fat, coconut oil, although I will say coconut oil is not my favorite for making tortillas. I love lard. Lard is so good with tortillas. But I would switch out that healthy fat. So just make a note of that if you watch that video about making these tortillas. If you're going to be using them as a baking type scenario, you're going to want to go ahead and swap out that fat for a healthier fat that's more stable at a cooking temperature. I've been meaning to do a video on my homemade fermented salsa, you guys. In the next batch that I make, I totally will. I'm going to show you guys the batch I have right now. It's really yummy. The salsa was so yummy. It was my first salsa that I've made that has all of the ingredients came from my garden 100%, and that felt really good. A big milestone for me, really, to be able to make a recipe that I can serve to my family that's 100% from the farm. Here, I'll show you guys the salsa. Isn't it pretty? So this just has one more day. This will be done tomorrow. I just left it out at room temperature. And like I said, I promise you guys I will make a video. This salsa is absolutely amazing. It's totally delicious. And just like with my pickles, people that don't like fermented foods love my salsa. So I'll get that video up for you guys. It is tomato season finally here, so I will be doing a video on my homemade tomato soup and go ahead and canning that. So that video will be coming out as well as soon as I get enough tomatoes to make that recipe. And that, of course, was the recipe from my dear friend that passed away. And that was her tomato soup recipe that I said I will can every single year on my what I would can and wouldn't can again video. So if you've been waiting for that, it'll be coming as well. We are in a almost grow zone 4, so we're kind of stuck between grow zone 4 and 5, and so a lot of times our tomatoes aren't coming on really until August. So we are in August and they have just started. In fact, I have a pile of tomatoes behind me on the counter waiting for me to do something with them. And I probably will turn those into more fermented salsa because we eat so much of it. It is so good. And I typically, because it is fermented, I do not can that. I just go ahead and store it in my refrigerator, where it can store up to a year. And it just gets more of a zing to it, more fermented and bubbly as it sits in the refrigerator for 1 year. But this is how our ancestors used to preserve our food, was through fermenting. So it's the same thing with sauerkraut or my pickles. My fermented pickles recipe, those all can be stored in a refrigerator or in a basement that's under 40, around 40 or under degrees for up to a year. And the food will stay healthy and fresh and not contaminated because the good bacteria will be protecting that food, so from the bad bacteria. So it's a great way to preserve food. It takes a lot less time than canning does, and it's actually a lot easier than canning. 1 year on my garden, I did all of my produce into my garden fermented. I did the whole thing. I had a whole spare fridge, and I went ahead and I did all of it fermented. And it was nice. It didn't heat up the house, and it was a great way to get probiotics into my family. I also have a recipe for fermented cherry tomatoes. We call them cherry bombs, but I have not been able to make that because my kids are eating all of the cherry tomatoes this year. So maybe when they get sick of that, eating the cherry tomatoes out of the garden, then I'll be able to go ahead and make that recipe. And I will definitely put that up here on the channel for you guys. The other news I have is that I have reached out to my brother, who is a tech-savvy man, and he is going to solve my computer issue. He's going to hack into it so I can get all of my information off of it for the cookbook. And so I will be up and running on the cookbook this fall, and it should be done, cross your fingers, well before Christmas, so that if you are interested in purchasing a cookbook with all of the recipes that are here on the channel, plus more, it will be available before Christmas for purchase. So I've just been locked out, and it got to a point where the situation elevated, and basically my computer told me that I had to come up with passwords from like 5 years ago, and I can't even remember passwords from like last month. So anyway, that's not going to happen. And so instead of like blowing the computer up with explosives or taking it out to the field and shooting it, I decided that I would rather give it to my brother so he can disassemble it and fix it for me, and I can have all of my information on it and not lose my whole cookbook that I've worked so hard on. So I'm looking forward to getting that cookbook for you guys, and most of all, honestly, I'm excited for the cookbook for me and for my kids. Originally, that's how it started out, was just for me and my kids. a lot of my recipes are just on like note cards, and there's no instructions because I know how to make them. It's very much an Amish style cookbook where it just kind of assumes that you know what to do with the ingredients, and I would love to be able to give each of my children a cookbook so that they have a cookbook to cook for their families one day that tells them how to do all of the recipes. So anyway, but then once I started making it, then a few of you said, oh, I would love one, and so then it kind of became a bigger project, which is fine. I know there's a lot of you guys that watch my videos and you wish I would take the time to type out the recipes in the description box, so all you have to do is you know, copy them down, or you wish I would have a blog where I have it all so you can just print it. And I just don't have the time for that, guys. So for those people who have been wanting it all in hard copy, the cookbook will be what you've been waiting for. So that would be great. Anyway, I have diced all of my steak on up here. On a couple of them, I might cut them a little bit smaller just because I'm serving kids. And we are just well on our way with making the tortillas. I am blessed to have a brother that is, he got all the technological brains. I didn't get that, so. I'm glad that I have him and that he can help me. See, it doesn't take very long, guys, for those tortillas. And I'm just going to serve this meal with like some steamed vegetables or carrot sticks. Totally doable. And I did post this recipe though up on the channel under the community tab. And so if you need a typed out recipe, most of the ingredients are right there for you to copy. Ooh, I messed that one up. There we go. I did try to link the videos on how to make the tortillas and such, but it won't let me link more than 2 links in my post. So I was just able to link the one, which I'm not sure if that was a sourdough or if that was a sprouted. But anyway, they are on here on the channel, guys. The recipes for everything. This recipe does call for homemade mayonnaise. Because of my crazy day, I did not have time to make homemade mayonnaise. So I'm going to skip that ingredient and just add a little bit of extra cheese. They will still taste amazing. But if you did make your homemade mayonnaise, I'm really happy for you. And I will walk you through what that looks like as far as using the homemade mayonnaise. When the time comes here, I'll just have to do like a little pretending like I did that one time with the pizza sauce. All right. I keep finding so many more people that are benefiting from this channel. I just love it. I love it. It's funny because I run into people and they say, well, you have 1,000 subscribers. Like, how much money do you make on YouTube? And I look at them and say, nothing. I don't make a cent. Because I don't, guys. If you're going to make a career out of YouTube, you've got to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers that, you know, half of them watch your videos. So I'm doing this out of a passion. I like to help you guys. I like to give you guys ideas and inspire you to make more foods from scratch for your family that are nutrient dense. It's very important. I was talking with a new friend tonight about the importance of properly preparing grains, like as in fermenting and soaking of your rice, beans, nuts, and seeds of the earth. And a lot of people don't, you know, when you tell them, oh, you should soak and ferment that, they don't realize, they just think, man, that's a lot of work. But what they don't realize is that it doesn't take very long, for number one. And for number two, your family eats less. That properly prepared meal fills up your family a lot more than the typical meal that was not properly prepared. So it's worth it for a budget standpoint alone, okay? Hey, Carl. Carl's on. I'm just catching up to your comments. I found and tried an oatmeal tortilla. Take my chat away. I found and tried an oatmeal tortilla, soft texture and palatable. Really? Huh. I am like seriously addicted to my grain-free ones at this point because I've made pizza pockets out of them and all sorts of stuff for the freezer, and they turn out so well, and it's a great way to have a lower grain intake than normal, so that's great. Because not everybody can handle a lot of grains. All of us, our bodies are different. Some of us have high metabolism. Some of us can handle gluten. Some people can't. So it's kind of nice to be able to take it to a potluck or something like that and say, oh, it's grain-free. So everyone with food allergies shouldn't have a problem with it unless you've got dairy. A lot of my recipes have dairy in them, and I find myself talking to people who are on special diets that avoid dairy, and I'm like, ooh, I can't really recommend many recipes off of my channel. Sorry, guys. Just is what it is. We were dairy free for a while because my youngest girl was dairy intolerant, so we did the GAPS diet. So I've lived that life, which is why I did the GAPS diet, because I didn't want our whole lives to be that way. All right. Come on, be nice. They usually peel off pretty well off of this plastic, but there's always the one. Yeah, no. The troublemaker. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's number 12. Okay. We're going to go on to the next step here in just a couple seconds, guys. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this skillet over medium heat. And I've got all of my meat chopped and ready to go on in. I'm going to go get a little bit of butter, or you could use lard if you don't have any butter. Okay. I also learned something new this week, you guys. I keep growing bell peppers in my garden, and I don't get very big peppers, and I couldn't figure out why. And I watched another channel here on YouTube. Oh, come on. Her name's Leanne, something in outdoor living. She's been on our lives before. I can't remember the name of the channel. I'm sorry, Leanne. I know you're going to watch this, and you're comment down below, Leanne, when you go to watch the replay, so that people know what your name of your channel is. Outdoor something. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put 1 onion's worth of onion in here. I've already chopped the onion up, you guys. It's been frozen. We're just going to saute it a little bit. And then I'm going to add some already pre-chopped and frozen green peppers. And some already pre-chopped and frozen red peppers. These are bell peppers. This is the reason why I pre-chop and freeze this stuff, you guys. It makes it so much faster for your meals, because you're just dumping and you're going. Alright, we're going to let that saute. I was going to show you guys my chopper. But it's just one of those choppers that has one of these screens to it. And I need a new one, honestly. But anyway, and the chopped ingredients fall down to the bottom. I heavily use mine so much that I really could use a new one. They are amazing if you're putting up your own food, or if you're freezing, buying in bulk and freezing. Absolutely amazing. When I go to make my salsa, I chop all of my tomatoes through that. All of my onions, my spicy peppers, because you can switch it from one size hole to the smaller ones for the spicy peppers. Absolutely amazing. Okay, that's sauteing there. I'm gonna grab some cheese, guys. So I'm going to do a mixture tonight of cheeses. The original cheese for the pepper jack. Can these be made in advance to be frozen? Yes, they can, you bet. Starting over Homestead. Welcome to the channel. I've never seen you comment before, so thanks for joining. They sure can. They sure can. These tortillas, all the recipes are on the channel. These are the sourdough, but you could also use the recipe for the sprouted tortillas as well. They would freeze perfect just like this, or you could load them up. So back to the cheese. Provolone is the typical cheese that's used in a Philly cheesesteak type scenario. But I'm just going to use the cheese I have on hand because cheese from Azure Standard or Romano brand, right there, pepper jack cheese is amazing. I get this from Azure Standard. I'm going to be doing a video after we get off live here. And their cheese is amazing. This is organic, and the Romano brand is grass-fed. But anyway, I'm going to be using pepper jack, a mix of pepper jack, and then I also have Romano brand mozzarella cheese. I'm going to do like kind of like a 50-50 or whatever it comes out to be mixture in the tortillas. I think I have chickens in my house. I'm going to go see, watch. So I opened the door because it got like a little smoky in here. Look, there they are. No kidding, guys, look. What are you guys doing in my house? Go on out. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Shoo. I opened the door to let some of the steam and smoke out from putting those onions into the pan. And that was my Azure order too. So that'll all be, I had a big haul, you guys. Look at this haul. Okay. I have not opened all the boxes yet, but it floods onto the floor down here. So that video will be coming out probably tomorrow because I still have to make it, edit it, and then upload it. But that video will be out as well with everything that I ordered from Azure Standard this month. And as always, I will put the link down below if you've never ordered from Azure Standard before. It's like my share link, so I share it with you. You set up your account with Azure Standard to make your first order. You bless me with $25, and then that link will allow you to have your own link to share with your friends and earn $25 off of your next order, okay? So it's kind of like a link thing. So I'll put that down below in this video and put it down in the Azure Standard video as well. All right, so we are just waiting for some of the liquid to cook off of these peppers here. I'm going to shred up some cheese. Buying cheese in the block is another really great way to save because it's cheaper than already shredded cheese. In Azure, you can buy 2 5-pound blocks, and as long as the blocks stay sealed, you guys, they stay good for months and months and months, sometimes even years. The expiration date, let's see, this one doesn't have an expiration date on it, I don't think. Is this one? I know on some of the other ones, it was, this one's from April and it's still good, okay. Some of the other ones that I had expired like at the end of the year, technically expired. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea. They last a long time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start shredding. I do have a food processor that does this whole action, but I don't know, digging it out is kind of annoying, so I don't. But I'm excited to bring you guys some more canning videos. My green beans are just starting to come on, so that's why there just hasn't been a lot of canning videos, guys. It's been either too hot for stuff to produce, or stuff's just starting to trickle in, and so I just don't have enough to can yet, so we've just been eating it fresh. my growing season typically goes till the middle of October, where we typically have like one frost, and then it warms up again. So we don't really get snow until at least Christmas here. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to cut a chunk off this larger block. A lot of my meals on this channel are, or could be freezer meals without a problem. Just so you guys know. All right. I'm going to go ahead and shred up the mozzarella. And then, looks like the pepper mixture is done, so we're just going to move on to stuffing some tortillas. And voila. There we go. All right. So, we're going to go ahead and mix this. So I got a little 50-50 mix. And then my plan is to take one of my pretty bowls and move the already sauteed mixture of onions and red peppers and bell peppers into this bowl here. But we're going to leave this skillet on, you guys, because we want the cheese to be melted in our quesadillas. Okay. So, you could move the meat and the peppers and onions into a bowl and mix it up. You sure could do that. I'm just going to load up the quesadillas for you. Alright, so this is a smaller quesadilla. This one will have to be Williams. And so for each quesadilla, I'm just going to put a little bit of cheese. Along the bottom, it's maybe like 1 tablespoon per wrap. And we're just going to layer the meat on. And I'm going to get a spoon for the peppers because they're still hot. Peppers and onions. There they are. And, you know, if someone doesn't like a lot of onion, you'd obviously do less of that topping. Just going to fold them in half. I'm going to put the cheese side down into the pan so the cheese melts, okay? We're still over medium heat. That has not changed. All right. So I totally have a visitor here, and I think I'm going to make her get on the live. I think she came over bearing gifts. Oh. Yep, I think she did. Hang on a minute. I might be able to get her on. There, she's going to run. One of the two. Oftentimes people forget I have a live cooking class. Nope, she's going to run. All right. So we're just adding. I'd like to eventually get her on because she makes the most amazing kombucha. If you guys would be interested in a either live class or a pre-recorded video on how to make homemade kombucha that's absolutely amazing, make sure you guys comment down below. If there's enough comments, I will ask her, and I'm sure she would love to give a class on how to make your own kombucha. Because she's amazing. All right. So these are just heating on up. All right. Now, if you had a lid, you sure could speed this process along. Sometimes I take one of these stainless steel pizza pans and put it over top. That helps too. I don't have a lid for this specific cast iron skillet. So, let's see, where did I put it? Oh, over there. We're going to show you guys the end product here in just a minute, and then we're going to go over the recipe for next week. And I'm going to get better at posting that all of the ingredients you need to shop for faster, so you guys can, if you guys are going to go shopping this weekend to get the supplies, then you guys sure could. Okay. Delicious. Okay. Let's check on them, shall we? How are you, Raps? I'll get myself a plate so I can show you guys the ooey gooiness up close. Let's see. Are you ooey gooey? Ooh. Look at that, guys. Oh my goodness. It's delicious. Now, told you I was going to do this, so I'm going to tell you. If you were going to make the homemade mayonnaise, which makes it more ooey gooey in the middle, this one needs to go a little longer. Then what you would do is you'd load all of your ingredients. See this? Okay, so cheese first, meat, peppers. Then this side of the wrap would get coated in mayonnaise, and you would fold it in half and move it to your skillet. And then that really pumps up the ooey gooiness, and it's absolutely delicious. I just didn't have time to make homemade mayonnaise tonight, which is kind of a crazy day. But they are delicious with homemade mayonnaise. I do have a video up on the channel on how to make that. It's basically some raw egg yolks, avocado oil, some apple cider vinegar, and is that it? Apple cider vinegar? I think that's it. So it's totally cost effective, easy to make, you guys. No big deal. I do have a video up on how to make that. It would be a mayonnaise that is a healthy fat for mayonnaise purposes, and very cost effective. Azure Standard sells amazing oils. I've said this before. I know some of you guys might feel like you're watching an Azure Standard video infomercial, but Azure Standard is amazing, you guys, on oils. They are very, very particular on what's in the oil. If you're buying avocado oil, it is avocado oil. They do not use any other oils to cut the oil in the processing. And they use the lowest temperature possible. It's actually the same temperature that they used to make extra virgin oils, and so it's a very low temperature, and so it's just, they're really good products. And that's all there is to this meal, you guys. They look so good. Look. Delicious. Okay. Yum, 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 yum. Okay. You guys get the point. I'm going to talk about the recipe here in just a minute for next week. I'm going to put my lid on this. It melts better with a lid. Okay. So, this is my entire plan for the entire month on meals. And so, it looks like next week is garlic butter steak bites. So, let me get out my recipe for that. Oh my gosh, there's still a chicken in my house. Not joking. Still a chicken. Watch. Watch, you guys. Who is it? Let's see. Why are you in my house? Oh my goodness, if you poop on the floor, I'm going to be in trouble. Come on, let's get on out now. Come on, right here. I kept hearing this clicking noise, but go on out. Okay. But I was like, what is that clicking noise? There's a chicken still in the house. Okay, she's out now. All right. The wildest live cooking show you ever did watch. Okay, chicken in the house. All right, I'm gonna take these guys on out, and then we're gonna pull out there we go. That one's nice and creamy. So you can totally make them like this, and then freeze them. Put them in a Ziploc bag, or put them in a 13x9 pan, and freeze away. They are ready to go, just like that. So I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to grab my my recipe here. And I'm also going to try and timestamp these lives, because I know some of you guys just need the ingredients for like next week. And so I don't want you guys to have to come back and watch an hour-long live just to get the ingredients. Okay, Carl is all on board about kombucha. All right, so let's see here. We are making, what was it again? Garlic butter, hang on. See, just so you guys know, this is like my cookbook, and this is the reason why I want to get it like into an actual printed form, because it's a mess. And I had somebody, her name's Teresa, never met her before, but she reached out to me to see if I had a handwritten recipe. And basically, I said, well, I do. And so I sent her pictures of them. I emailed them to her. And I said, I don't think they're going to help you the way you want them to, because there are no directions. Okay, so garlic butter steak bites. Okay, so Okay, so starting over, Homestead asks, what is kombucha? So kombucha is a fermented drink. You can buy it in a lot of the supermarkets. It's basically like a substitute for soda. It has the same fizziness as soda, but it's a probiotic drink. And you can make it at home and save a ton of money because usually bottles of kombucha range, depending on where you live, from $3 a bottle for a one serving bottle all the way up to $6, depends on where you live. So anyway, and there's a bit of an art to making it. I used to make it, not very successfully, and luckily I have this amazing neighbor and friend who makes amazing kombucha every single time, and she's made stuff like, my favorite that she makes is grapefruit kombucha. It's very good. So anyway, back to the recipe. I'm going to timestamp this 46 minutes-ish here. So, so for garlic butter steak bites, we're going to need 2 pounds of steak. We're not going to cook that ahead, okay? You're going to need some butter, salt and pepper, 5 cloves of garlic, Italian seasoning, and parsley. It's a very easy recipe, okay? And then with that, you can serve whatever you want. I have lots of videos up here on side dishes as far as like, I'll probably do baked carrots because I love my baked carrots. They're absolutely delicious. So that is the recipe for next week. And I will put all of those ingredients on the community tab, so you guys can, you know, how to try and rewatch this to get the ingredients. It'll all be in the one spot, okay? So that is for next week. This was a ton of fun, and that will be a very easy recipe. I like finding new YouTube creators. Super glad you're here. My goal, since you're new, I'll state it again, is to inspire you to cook a from-scratch meal for your family. Whether it's just you and a husband, or even just you, you're a family too. But to nourish your family at least once a week with a home-cooked meal, and that's why I do these videos, is to inspire people to make them. You sure could, if making your own tortillas is too much, if that's too much of a stretch for you because you're just new to cooking, you sure could buy sprouted tortillas from the store. They do sell them. They're more expensive than making your own, but if you're new to cooking and this is all overwhelming, you sure could just buy some from the store. And then you'd just be shredding your cheese and cooking your steak, and then cooking it into the pan. It's awesome. Totally easy. I just like to try and inspire people. I did not grow up this way. My mama didn't know how to cook. I actually learned from a 70-ish-year-old widow. Actually, it was widower. It was the husband. Taught me how to cook. And so I was raised on Hamburger Helper and frozen pizzas. So this was not my forte. I know a lot of people in my generation, which is like just the start of millennial aged people, our parents were either A, both working and too busy to cook from scratch, or B, did not know how to cook from scratch. And so we were left with processed foods, which come out of a box and are actually way more expensive than cooking from scratch. And if you want to know more about that, I do have a video up here on the channel. It was an entire class on budgeting for whole food, and I actually went through the numbers, and I proved to you that eating 100% processed foods are actually more expensive than buying the ingredients to make those same foods and buying half of those ingredients organic, okay? So it's way more expensive to eat processed foods than it is to make from scratch. So anyway, that video is up on the channel as well. I've been learning to cook and can from YouTube. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube. And I will have some more canning videos coming out. I just don't right now because, like I said, my garden is just starting to amp on up. It's just starting to get kind of crazy. And so I don't have a lot of canning videos, although I do have a couple of canning videos up here. I have how to make and can broth, like as in chicken broth. And then I also have a how to can chicken video up on here as well. I don't think I have any other canning videos other than those, but I do plan on making them, so just bear with me. It's just my garden is not producing quite yet enough to actually can something. And I have been thinking about giving another garden tour because I know there's several of you guys that like to see that. I thought about it just yesterday, actually. But I just haven't gotten that far yet. So, anyway, Does anybody have any questions? These are looking delicious. Look at this. They are delicious. Nothing ever looks as good as the picture, but man, these are going to be delicious. All the cheese is melted on the inside, and like I said, you sure could cover the one side with homemade mayonnaise, or at least if you're going to buy your mayonnaise, at least try and buy a mayonnaise that does not have canola oil in it. If you look into the history of canola oil, where canola oil came from, and what it's used for around the world, canola oil is actually a pesticide, guys. So that is not something that you want to be eating. It causes a lot of bad things in your gut, gut cancers and such, because, well, you're eating something that's a pesticide. So read your labels. If you can find one that has avocado oil in it, awesome. Even if you had to settle for an olive oil one, but just be really cautious that you're not cooking with it, because like I said, olive oil is only stable at low temperatures, and the second you go to put it in a 350 degree oven, it's not stable anymore, and so the food that you are making with olive oil goes rancid. The oil goes rancid, so it's not good for you. We don't want to be putting rancid food in our bodies. But if you can find a commercial mayonnaise that doesn't have canola and doesn't have canola is the big one, or soybean oil. Those are both really bad for you. So avocado oil mayonnaise is great. Another one that's really popular is safflower oil mayonnaise, and I used that for years until I found out that safflower oil is really not good for you. And so I steered away from that, but for a while I did buy that in a can as well. So if you can find one that's either olive oil or avocado oil, awesome. Yeah, kombucha is, it's basically like a big jar with water and sugar in it, and you put what's called a SCOBY in it. And so the SCOBY is, SCOBY stands for a symbiotic relationship between a yeast and a bacteria in the same thing. So you put it in there and it feeds off of the sugar, and it completely gets rid of the sugar, and it turns the liquid water into a vinegar. Then you would take that and you would go ahead and you would add, you'd strain it out and you'd add fruit to it, and that's called a second ferment. So then what ends up happening is that all those good bacteria and yeast that are within that liquid feed off of your fruit that you add. So you could do strawberry flavored, you know, it's endless, okay? Anything with a fruit sugar you could stick in there. And basically then you let it sit for a couple more days, and it gets really, really bubbly, and then you pour it into one of these. It's called a bale lock jar. And then you store it inside your refrigerator and drink it whenever you want. So it stays super, super bubbly as long as you have these, I call them fancy, but you can buy them on Amazon, you guys. But anyway, it's not complicated, but it is definitely a multi-step process. Oops. Hang on. Jackie says, hey Carl, lady who works at my local Whole Foods said she just buys the original GTS kombucha bottle and puts that in a gallon jar. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to read it. I hate how it takes it away on YouTube. Bothers me. A kombucha bottle and puts that in a gallon jar and leaves it on the counter, and she said it starts its own SCOBY. Oh, I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would. Because it's got like the little good guys from the other SCOBY. Carl says, I will enjoy visiting it tomorrow after my morning meeting. I'll have to ask her next time I am in Whole Foods. Yeah, I think any sort of vinegar that has like the mother in it is going to grow another SCOBY. It's the same thing with like apple cider vinegar sometimes. If you get it with the mother in it and it sits long enough, it'll start getting like a little film on the top. So it's growing its own mother to prepare to keep on living on, you know? So like tomatoes and their whole all of the little sprouts that come out of the sides, the suckers, you know. Is this the kombucha you're talking about? I think so. GTS is Synergy. That's what our local store carries. I can't say local. It's 45 minutes away, but anyway, that is that brand, I think, is what you're talking about, Jackie. Anyway, I'm so happy that you guys are here, and I'm so happy to have a new subscriber. That's so great. And any way I can help you starting over Homestead, let me know. I'll have to check out your YouTube channel when I get off of here. I wish I could remember the name of the other one. Outdoors and Country Living, maybe? I can't remember. I can't remember, guys. Anyway, so that's that. If you guys have any other questions, comment. And if not, we're going to jump off because I've got to finish dinner and then I've got to make the Azure Haul video for you guys because that's over $1,000 worth of food waiting for me to unbox it and make an amazing video for you guys. I did a little bit of a stock up. I don't typically buy $1,000 worth of food. Just every few months I buy that much because you can look ahead and say I want to make certain meals. So I'm going to need a 25-pound bag of pinto beans or etc. And by buying them in the 25-pound increments or even 50 pounds, I save a lot more money for my family. So I typically take one order out of my Azure standard ordering about every other month, sometimes 3 months. I think it's been a good 3 months since I've had an over $1,000 order. But basically, I use that order to stock up on dry goods and pantry goods, things like all of my spices, my dry goods, coconut flour, all of that sort of thing. And I just make sure that that month it's higher than the other months, and then I am stocked up for several months. So everything that I bought today should hold us over on dry goods through Christmas. So I'm excited and happy about that. They had a lot of things in stock. Some of the things they didn't have in stock, I'm a little disappointed on a couple of them. I tried to buy a 5-gallon container of apple cider vinegar, and so did several of the other people for my drop, and unfortunately they were out of stock, so that did not come. But it's always good to have apple cider vinegar on hand. Winter is coming, you guys, for colds, flus, and illnesses, and also for properly preparing your grains, your nuts, your seeds, and your flours, all of that sort of thing, all need apple cider vinegar or whey. Apple cider vinegar is just much easier to store without refrigeration. Another thing that I'm going to remind you guys of, and we didn't even use all of this. This is the fermented honey garlic from last year. So we're coming up on needing to start making this if you guys are going to make it for your family for this winter. Essentially, I have an entire video on this, but essentially this is, garlic is the strongest antibiotic on the planet. And basically what we do is we submerge it in honey, and you can see how liquidy the honey has become. This was raw honey to begin with, so it was very thick. And so basically what ends up happening is it takes the loud, spicy tang of the garlic away, and you're able to feed garlic cloves to your children without a problem. And if they're too little to eat garlic, you can have them eat the honey out of here, and it is infused with the medicinal properties of the garlic. So this video was one of my first videos, so you're gonna have to scroll all the way down to watch how to make this. It's super easy, you guys. Garlic is very inexpensive, but it does take several weeks to sit until it's finished. So if you want to have your own amazingly nature-made antibiotic on hand for any cold, flu, or otherwise, you might want to go check out that video and start making fermented garlic for your winter stash, okay? This is actually last year's fermented garlic. We didn't use it that much, but we were sick with the big bad, and we used it for that, but this last winter wasn't too bad. We did reach for this a couple of times, but obviously not nearly enough. I think I turned 5 pounds of garlic into fermented garlic. So it's still good. It's just gonna get stronger. So I'll probably taste this and see what I can do. If the garlic and everything is too strong, too tangy, what I might do is take out the garlic, feed it to the chickens, because garlic is extremely good for chickens, and then go ahead and keep the honey. This honey is amazing, brushed on any sort of bread, biscuits, pizza dough, amazing. It has a hint of garlic, but it is sweet. It tastes so good. So it will not go to waste, even if the garlic has gotten too tangy for us humans to consume. It will go to something. But anyway, this is definitely something that if you're looking into stocking up before this winter with any sort of herbal medicinal anything, I do have a whole hour long. It's my very, very, very first video, you guys, on here. A whole hour-long video on how to make your own tinctures, what things should be in your basic medicinal tincture cabinet for cold and flu season. I tell you exactly what books to buy so you know how to use those items. I tell you exactly what websites to buy from as far as bulk dried medicinal herbs and tincture stuff, little tincture bottles, and I lay it all out for you guys in that one video. So if you're interested in that, scroll all the way down and check it out, okay? So the garlic is in a separate video, but it's definitely a must for the winter. I missed some comments, so hang on one second, guys. Okay, regular mom pantry life. I'm so glad you jumped on. She says, I bet it's really medicinal now. Yes, it has had the good things multiplied, definitely. Hang on, I have other comments, guys. Just a second. Okay, and then Carl says, Crystal, no plain water must be brewed. Oh, yes, that's right. Black organic tea. You're right. Sorry, I forgot about the kombucha. The other ingredient is indeed, yes, Carl, it is black tea as another ingredient. So it's like a fermented vinegary black tea, and then you add the fruit last, and you get a bubbly fruit drink that's really good. So that's my little infomercial. Start thinking, you guys, about winter. I know it's only August, but winter is coming, and a lot of the, especially like a vodka tincture, which lasts forever, you guys. They're very important to have on hand. A medicinal vodka tincture has to sit for 6 to 8 weeks. So you can see how, that's why I'm starting to warn you right now in August. Get your stuff ordered so that by September you can start those tinctures, so that you have a medicinal cabinet ready to go when cold and flu season starts. You are armed and dangerous, okay? That's what we want. We want people to be very prepared heading into the winter, because if you're prepared, you're not scared, and that applies across the board to everything. So we want to be empowered. I want you guys to feel empowered that you guys can do this. You guys can make your own medicine, and have all of the information on how to safely use it and effectively use it, and how to store it, and all of that stuff. When I first started looking into, hey Rhonda, thanks for jumping on even though you're late. I'm just happy you're here. When I first started looking into tinctures for my family, I quickly realized how expensive already made up tinctures were, which is why I started researching and studying into how to make them on my own. I bought all of the important books and that have step-by-step guides on how to make your own medicinal tinctures. And like I said, I put all of it into my very first video. You're gonna have to scroll, baby, all the way down to the bottom. It's the very, very first video, and it walks you exactly through how to make tinctures for your family, and what books to buy, and all that sort of thing. Even where to get the fancy little glass dropper bottles. All of that information is in that presentation, my very first video, all the way at the bottom. So, Rhonda, you just missed making these delicious things. Let me show you now that you're on. Hang on a minute here. I gotta get one that looks, look at this. Okay, so these are the Philly cheesesteak quesadillas. The cheese is all melted there. And then I did mention that you could put mayonnaise on this side, and then it turns into like a more creamy situation. I just had an absolute crazy day, guys, so I didn't have any time to make my own mayonnaise. So they will still taste delicious even without mayonnaise, but if you can plan ahead, have some mayonnaise on hand. It makes it extra creamy because it mixes with the cheese, okay? Super good. Okay. Are there any other questions before I end the live for the night? If you've got questions, I'll stick around and we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. If not, then I will. Hey, thank you for jumping on, Starting Over Homestead. I'm so glad that you found my channel and you can start digging into all that content. I can't believe I have as many videos as I have. It's kind of nuts, but it's good. And I'm going to say it again. If you guys have any content suggestions, what do you want to see me cook? What do you want? What kind of how can I help you, basically, in your journey of achieving health for your family? If you have a particular topic you'd like me to make a video about, comment down below and let me know. I'm totally open to suggestions. Love suggestions. I want to make videos that you guys want to watch, and that is the most helpful to you guys. So let me know if there's anything like that, okay? Other than that, yeah, I'm so glad Rhonda's here. I'm glad all of you guys are here. Even if you're late, it's okay. You guys can always go back and watch the replay. It will take me a couple of minutes to upload it. It's just the way YouTube works. I don't know why. It was kind of faster with the way I used to do it, but and my comments stayed on my screen, which was super nice. And yeah, but I do like being able to pre-schedule these lives so you guys can click the little notify me box ahead of time and get notified when I go live, so that nobody forgets that we're live. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm like looking around my house. I've got more fermented pickles going. I think these are done in 2 more days. They're nice and bubbly. I don't know if you guys can even see the bubbles going up when I tap it, but anyway, this video is up on there too. These are really good. They don't typically make it into the into refrigerator for storage unless we have like an abundance of cucumbers, and then I usually make them in a gallon-sized jar, and then we'll have them through the winter. But those little quart-sized jars, they get eaten up. My kids will sit and eat the entire jar in one sitting before a meal as their fermented food. They'll switch on over from sauerkraut to that instead, which is fine. I'm glad they love it, and it's a different type of bacteria, good bacteria that they're getting, so it's totally worth it. All right. Anyway, cool. Have any more questions? So just remember that if you guys decide you want one of these aprons, you can email me. I'll put my email down below in the description when this video loads. And they are $30, but that includes shipping, you guys. So you're literally only paying like 20 bucks for an apron. And I will mail it to you. So if you guys are interested in that, email me. It's down below. If you have any other questions, comments, or suggestions for video content, you can either comment down below or you can email me at the email address that will be down below in about 10 minutes. So, all right, you guys. Thank you so much for jumping on with me. And I hope you guys have a great night. And I'll see you guys in the next one, okay? All right, take care.